What's up, buddies? Today, I'm going to give you my SmithersCast 5 tips. That's right, 5 tips for new HLL teams out there. And hopefully this shouldn't take too long. But there are so many new teams coming up in HLL, and I get a lot of DMs and comments and everything on my videos asking, to review videos and help out. Hey, what do we do wrong, Smithers? Or what can we do better? That sort of thing, right? So I want to make a little bit of a series here because I streamed hundreds of games. A lot of games, guys. And I've also commanded for a lot of games as well. And so hopefully this will be a help to you all as far as, hey, Smithers, what can we do to help make our team better, right? And so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. So remember, I've commanded for a whole bunch of games. I've been in a lot of really tough defeats and also a lot of really cool victories. And so we'll walk through this situation here for this game for Helios versus Climbers United. So without further ado, buddies, we'll go ahead and get started here. I do have my pen tool that I'll be using throughout the video right here. So we'll once again try to make this video relatively quick as possible. But yeah. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So with the first number one tip that I have for all new teams out there is to understand your strengths and weaknesses. Okay. So understand whether you are an armor-centric team or more infantry-centric team. Okay. And to see, hey, maybe is our armor still learning about the game? Are they struggling to get in good spots and really dominate and that sort of thing? Or is our infantry more of our strong suit? Are they winning frags out on the front line? Is their KD ratios really high, right? And so all those little things you got to understand about your team. You just got to be honest, right? Just got to be honest with yourself to say, hey, do our armor crews, are they still learning? Are they still getting better? Because this is going to determine what kind of maps you end up banning, right? And so we all know the different types of map bans that go on in the HLL scene, the competitive world. And the map bans, I mean, if your armor's really struggling, you're not going to want to choose maps like Kursk or Foy, really, right? Because those maps are very armor-centric. And if you choose a map like that and your armor gets dominated, your infantry's not going to have a good time, right? Your infantry's not going to have a good time. They're gonna hate you for picking that map. But if your team is more stronger on the infantry, or if your team is stronger on the infantry side, then you're going to want to pick maps like SME or SMDM, maybe Carentan, right? Those are going to be the ones that you're sort of float your boat. So that's number one tip that I have for new teams. Understand your strengths, real and weaknesses, and just be honest with yourself, right? Number two, buddies. Number two is Garrison Outpost radar network placement, all that sort of good stuff, right? So let's go ahead and dive into an example here. Here, once again, we're on Helios versus Climbers United here on Stalingrad. So we'll just go ahead and dive in real quick. We'll go ahead and skip above or move on along the map here. And we'll just go talk about this opening right here, right? And for each one of the maps, you just have to study beforehand, and we'll get to the studying part here in a second, but you want to study beforehand where you want to put your garrisons, right? And you want to make sure you delegate out to certain SLs, hey, this is where we're going to put this garrison, you're responsible for that garrison, and you want to have really good spacing amongst all these different garrisons and outposts, just to have, develop a nice radar network, if you will, okay? So that way you can catch the enemy sneaking through the back line. At least on the PC side, there are some teams that are known for being experts in sneaking through. Like GBI, for example, is really good at finding a way through the line and getting back there and going prone for about 20-30 minutes, and then getting a garrison up. There are also some really good Chinese teams as well doing that. But every team has somebody dedicated to trying to get in your back line and get something set up. Okay, so let's walk through the Helios example here. And so this is the beginning of the game relatively. We're about, let's see how much time we're in here. We're about 5 minutes in or something like that, right? So the garrison network isn't the greatest, but here we're going to go ahead and drag our little pen friend. If we go ahead and grab it right there. Okay, perfect. So as you see here off the opening, we have a garrison up to the north and garrison down here, right? So these are blue zone garrisons, remember? And once again, we're trying to just build a nice network to support the outposts there on the front line as we're starting to capture the point, right? And you see me driving around the supply truck in the back line, and we put up a garrison by our fourth point right there, the brewery. And I'm drop its supplies right here, and I'll be driving the supplies right down here to put a garrison, okay? And as you build this network up, right, then you're going to be able to catch the enemies, and the team will be able to spawn off these and get into the launch sector. So let's move on here. Okay, as we see here, the opening OP network, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have good OP spacing right here to help launch bodies into the sector. And then we have the Garrison network in the back line to support and everything just in case. And as you see here, we flex some OPs up here to the north, but I'm not going to go through every detail. Let's just skip on here, and we'll see how the radar network develops over the course of the game, right? So as you see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 OPs spaced right here. Okay, we have good Garys going around the point, and OPs extended up to the north, right? So you want to understand how far up you want to push and just where you want to maybe observe where the enemy is going, because remember, the enemy can only place, in this case, their OPs and garrisons in the E and F column, right? Now recon can obviously go back to G and H, but you just want to have that nice spread here to be able to have backup garrisons for in case a squad lead gets wiped, and then a good OP network in order to catch the enemy slipping through, right? But this gets even better. So let's go ahead and move on here a little bit. So if we look back here at this screenshot, okay, I'm going to go ahead a little bit back a little bit here. Okay, so we do see, I'm going to grab my pen. We do see this a good string of OPs to catch the enemy, right? We have the backline garrisons right here to catch any enemies that'll be trying to set anything up in the F grid column. And then down here, we see George Squad's OP right there. However, I said, hey, George Squad, can you do me a favor and move your OP right here into this corner? Okay, so where the attack marker is. And so that way we have our Achilles heel covered. Now, what do a lot of teams fall victim to is having their a weakness in their backline by not having proper OP and radar coverage. Okay, so what do I mean by that? This is a very detailed topic, so this is going to take a little bit longer. Okay, but for your OP placement, you want to make sure that you cover your backline. Okay, so the enemy won't really go here because it's sort of in the middle and we can surround them, right? But the enemy most likely is going for the corner on most maps. Going for the corner, and you'll have to understand the terrain because obviously it fluctuates per map. But the enemy will most likely try to come down here and put up a garrison because our garrison is slightly back here, right? Because we wanted to make sure we had enough room over here for this garrison just in case we need to push it back. But down here, that was our weak spot, right? So I said, hey, George Squad, hey, buddy, can you put your OP just a little bit farther to the east so that way we can catch the enemy if he tries to put something up in the small corner right there, right on the borderline, okay? And so that's, you just have to understand where are our weak spots and where the enemy might spawn in our backline, right? I've seen this in too many games where the team I'm casting for did not have proper OP network or radar coverage in the backline, and they get bit. They get bit so hard, man. It hurts to see it because it's so easily preventable when it comes to defending your backline. And if we go here real quick, so you'll see here we do have this spot open like I mentioned before, but we do have this Gary here to maybe catch something. And then of course, I occasionally run backline recon too to catch anybody maybe trying to sneak up. So understand where your Achilles heel is, okay? And to build that proper OP and radar network coverage, okay? So let me just go here and we'll back this up a little bit here, and we'll keep on going forward, and we'll move here 30 seconds, and we see George Squad's OP is placed there right in the corner to help catch anybody that's trying to sneak by. The next tip on my list, everybody, is building a strong culture of discipline. So when it comes to this game, you just got to be able to redeploy and head on the, just go to that role. Don't waste too much time because your team needs you to drop supplies for a garrison. Your team needs to go to rockets to knock out a tank in the backline, whatever it may be. Just if you hear somebody in command chat or squad chat say, hey, I need you to go to support or rockets or satchel, whatever it may be, just do it. Just redeploy and do it unless you're trying to take down a garrison or you're in the middle of satcheling a tank, right? There are a few exceptions, right? But for the most part, just you got to build that discipline. You got to build that discipline, respond rapidly to developing situations, okay? Number 4, get a stats guy. Get a stats guy. So during all these engagements throughout the map right here, but we're losing ground, we're gaining ground in different places, right? So obviously people are winning their gunfights, people are losing their gunfights, And so you want to be able to build a stats catalog essentially to say, okay, who's improving and who maybe we need to switch different places. So on the offense side, you want to track something called kills per minute. So, you take the number of kills divided by the game time, or I think that's it, right? But so you can get an idea of how well they're, being aggressive on the map. And of course, you got to take account of the different, just the different map situations like PHL. They're going to be dying a lot to Artie, that sort of thing, right? So you got to understand the map, but it's a pretty good overall metric to understand how your guys are being, how aggressive they're being, and how well they're being able to frag on the front line. Okay. When it comes to defense, you want to track your kill death ratio. So that way on defense, you can understand who is winning the most engagements, because most teams play a min-max system where you have minimal bodies on defense, and those guys are responsible for winning their gunfights. And if they don't win their gunfights, obviously, then the team has to call more and more bodies back. And so your guys on defense got to be able to hold hedges. They got to be able to just win at least one, or at least trade, right? At least trade the 1-on-1s or 1v1, right? And then if they need a callback, they got to be assertive and say, hey, we need help on this defensive OP right now before the situation gets too serious, right? So there are games that I've casted where the enemy will sneak through the back line. So once again, going to my handy dandy pen tool, but the enemy will sneak through the back line like right here or right here. A defensive guy will go back there and he'll get wiped, right? And the squad lead will say, oh no, it's fine, it's just a couple guys. Next thing you know, there's a big spawn wave back here, and everybody's from the enemy side is spawning in and wiping you guys from the back line, right? You got to be able to win the engagements on defense, and if not, you got to be able to call out to say, hey, we need help right now before this gets too serious, right? So just remember that. But the stats guy, the stats guy, will be able to track all the team's performance, see who's improving, who's doing better, who's improving, who may need to be shifted elsewhere, who may be needing more practice during scrims and not during official matches. Plus, it'll help you allocate bodies to certain areas throughout the map off the opening. Okay, so for the more important spots, you want your top fraggers, right? And then for the less important spots, you can give the guys that aren't so good, but maybe they could just hold houses or hold hedges, whatever it might be. Okay, moving on, buddies. Study. So last point in this 5-tip video, once again, trying to keep this, multiple videos short or whatever, but study. There are numerous games out there where you can learn how teams approached it, how they won, how they lost. If they lost a point and they capped it back, how do they do it, right? And so all those things you have to keep in mind. So let me go to a match right here. So as far as your team should be studying, right? So let's go back to this point. Once again, there are hundreds of matches out there for all different types of maps, all different types of midpoints, right? And you want to make sure you study those. So here's an example of Merc versus Heli here on Hurricane Forest. Okay, so this was a console matchup, 49 versus 49, Heli U, and this is a great map where you can study, because Hurricane Forest is a very tough one. And in all my streams, I try to give an overlay of, hey, this is what's happening, right? And here's how the team may be capping the point. Here's how they recap, that sort of thing, right? And you want to study these matches and see what they could have done differently during the opening, right? So let's go ahead and watch together. Wait and see. Rockets come in. So Hurricane 4 is famous for having rocket snipes. Some tank action back here. Another rocket falls far short though. Up here to the more rockets. That rocket was pretty close. Oh, it does damage the truck. There we go. So the rocket snipes were nice because they know where the trucks are expected to be off the opening, right? And this is going to totally disrupt the Allies' approach here. So Heli playing the Allies on Hurricane Forest. And with the pre-planned rocket snipes and everything, there goes their front door push. And there we have it. And not only, they have multiple rocket snipes. I think it may have like 6 or 7 guys on rockets off the opening. Truck has already been damaged for the Allies. All right, so the access. Then, of course, it goes to tank positions as well. So where can your tanks be off the opening in order to intercept enemy vehicles, just anywhere coming towards a point, right? Is it possible given the map's terrain? Kursk is an excellent example. Hurricane Forest is an excellent example. And maybe not so much Hill 400 just because of the terrain in the hill, right? But rocket snipes are more so relevant on Hill 400, along with the opening arty rounds. Don't forget the opening arty rounds as well. So we're going to get a no-show advantage here. Look at that. Nice rocket play. Oh, and the Stewie gets wiped as well. Oh, Stewie got taken out too. Taken down. Counter rockets coming towards the axis, but it's just not going to be enough, and the ally's going to be playing off the back foot. Transport truck is wiped to the north. So now it's all about, hey, how does this team adapt? But these are, I'll cover that in another session. But here we have just the opening has gone terribly right for the allies. And now they have to just get up their Garys. But this is a part where you could study to say, hey, what did the Axis do, right? And as we move along throughout the game, I'm trying to keep this short, but we'll go towards the very end here. Spoiler alert, just in case you don't know who won this game. But throughout the game, you have to study how do teams recap these certain points, right? So in all my streams, I try to point this out, like how does the team come back here, right? And if we go towards the end, we do see Heli making their way over here into the strong point, so they rushed everybody in. But a key point to capping North Pass as allies is the ability to control. So if we go here to the map situation, but in this map here, you want to understand where you're going to cap, right? And so down here is what we call lumberyard or lumber works, wood stacks, what do you want to call it, right? But this part right here is about studying the map, but this gives you elevation into the point to be able to lay some crossfire to the axis that they try to push up to here, right? And if you're able to control this area as allies, it's huge. And so that's why in the opening for truck routes as a part of this whole studying theme, right? You do see the allies dive a truck down this road and go across the bridge right here. So there's like a bridge that's destroyed, but the truck can dive down there and head up, and they can go to this lumberworks area. And so they usually see the allies dedicate a full truck down here to be able to cap North Pass from the axis. And you have to understand from your off the opening standpoint that these trucks up here are most likely going to get sniped, because it's happened in numerous matches, all caught on stream most of the time. And the ability for the allies to send more bodies down here to woodpile, okay? And to be able to flex bodies from here from the strong point. Armor, of course, will hold off up here as long as they can to hold back the infantry, but the allies should be flexing more bodies down here so they can wrap around the axis and fire into the point like this, right? And then, of course, you want to dedicate some bodies to Scar down here to have as a reflank opportunity to protect the woodpile area flank right to the south right there, okay? So study, buddies, study. Anything else here I'm missing? Just checking. But yeah, so just run through these questions like here. So how did each team play the opening? What could have they done better? How many tanks did they have? Did they have any rocket snipes on the trucks like we just covered? Which truck routes did they use, right? What is the fastest way we could possibly get to this point? How did the armor crews play throughout the game? Which parts of the map did the winning team control? How did they respond to pressure? Did they have any reflank garrisons? Where did the artillery focus during the game? If they captured any points, how did they do it? And then what are the main parts of each strong point? What is our retake plan, right? And so this is just an example here with North Pass. There are literally, tons of different points throughout the map, right, where you can study and how teams recapture it and everything. But for at least for North Pass, we just go through here. Let's talk about, how we would cover this in Helios, right? So if I go here, once again, draw on the pen, but you're going to have a holding action up here to the top, because you're not going to be able to really push the open field unless, as Heli did here towards the end of the game, they just overwhelmed the defenders with everybody in sector. Everybody was there. Everybody was just flooding of the big wave towards the point. But you want to have a minimum holding action up here, and then you'll have AT guns up here by the radar tower to crossfire into the point to maybe suppress some Axis tanks as they try to push up. And then down to the south, you'll want to control the wood stacks, have a nice reflank down here by Scar to be able to hold wood stacks, right? So you want to have nice backup garrisons or whatever down there to be able to push up there, and have your nice OPs in through wood stacks to be able to push here and get some radar as far as where the enemy may be positioning, right? Because as soon as you capture this area, you can shut down all the MGs up here that will be holding back and firing over here into the point and holding back the infantry, right? So it's all part of a plan. You just got to understand, hey, we need to recapture here. And once again, don't flood everybody off of wherever you just capture, right? Just try to keep a few bodies back around the area to watch the outposts and scout around and look for enemy gears, that sort of thing. Okay, but once again, plenty of tips to come. These are just the 5 tips I wanted to get off, and we'll just make this a series or whatever. But if you have any questions, go and drop a comment below, guys. Happy to answer you, but I know there are a lot of new teams out there, but I just want to make a series to help out those new teams so they have a better understanding of, hey, what are we doing wrong? What can we change? That sort of thing, right? But happy to help, buddies. And I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.